exposes a fairly large tool surface. So we used to say, like, don't pass the model more than, I don't know, maybe 5 tools. It just didn't have the reasoning to be able to choose from, search filtering, product highlighting, looking at my profile, cart actions, like actually calling a weather API, like interacting with the outside world, so I don't have to leave the shopping app to understand what I should purchase. And Real-Time 2 is smart enough that it can choose between these tools in a more agentic way. So it can inspect the page, it can call parallel tools, so it can do like a lookup, add to my cart. So this is kind of like naturally more of an agentic workflow. And it's much more conversational. So we don't have to do this step-by-step menu. And that matters in this demo because the assistant is juggling context from all of this detail about me, my past purchases, the product reviews, et cetera. So yeah, these older voice demos were much more speech in, single action out, and this one's much more like a live shopping operator that can reason across many structured tools and update visual experiences as it talks. Terry, is there anything you want to call out about the model that you saw in this demo?
Do you have any recommendations for like VAD tuning? I don't know how much we actually did on for this demo because we had.
Okay, so there's two types of VAD. There's semantic and server VAD. Server VAD is like literally just how much silence before the model thinks, okay, I should interrupt. And then semantic is based on contextual clues. I think like maybe, I don't know, maybe my chair or something in here was like triggering it a little early, but you can definitely tune that parameter. And we have background noise detection parameters that you can tune as well, depending on if you're talking to a mic, talking to a laptop, and just play around with those things while you're in production as opposed to a demo.
I think
the thing that was exciting here is the intelligence, and like we can tune all of those parameters. That's like what my team is for, is to help tune these kinds of things. But really it's the intelligence to be able to choose between and reason over a ton of tools that I think is super exciting about this new model. So I'm gonna pop back to our next slide. And so I was just a shopper on an e-commerce website, but we're not just thinking about these new models for voice to voice. We're also really thinking about voice to action. And I think that's really cool because not everybody wants to have a voice model talking back to them all the time. So I think we want to offer that kind of variability. So I want to go into a demo where actually, I'm a product manager for Supply Co. And so I'm working on the inside and I want to understand what's happening with the product analytics for my e-commerce website. So I have my dashboard open, it's pretty noisy. So I don't want to just have to manually like sort through this or even just use chat. I want to actually be able to talk to my dashboard. So I'm going to open up my real-time session and start figuring out what's going on. Why is my activation dropping? Okay, so I've heard reports that something is going on in Europe. Looks like this matches that. So can we start just by filtering for Europe? Cool. Okay, yeah, even more activation drop. Metric Loop, can you tell me, look at this dashboard, tell me any other filters you think I should apply? Do you see any other filters that you think look like might be suspicious here? I'd love you to start a root cause investigation. Let's just look at voice search, maybe the last 7 days. Cool. Okay, great. Looks like you started the root cause investigation. Amazing. Okay, there's still a lot going on here. Metric Loop, can you give me a 2-sentence overview so that I can describe this to my engineering team? Metric Loop, can you tell me that out loud? I'd love to be able to just like vocalize this. Metric Loop, can you tell me that out loud so I can talk through this with engineering? Metric Loop, can you tell me a little bit about this investigation?
Let me check the current investigation view and then I'll give you a quick overview. This investigation is focused on why activation dropped for voice search in Europe over the last 7 days. The funnel shows the biggest drop between shoe size selection and add to cart. Support tickets and session replays show size selection not enabling checkout, and the pattern is strongest on mobile Safari after the PDP size selector validation release.
Okay, amazing. That's helpful. Actually, before we go, can you just segment this to first-time shoppers? Awesome. Okay, great. And actually, let's just look at mobile Safari versus Chrome. I just want to see what that does to the dashboard. Awesome. Yeah, this huge drop off. Okay, cool. This was super helpful. Thanks for working with me on this. I'm going to talk to my engineering team. I'm going to create a linear ticket for this and put this in there. Okay, much appreciated. Thank you, Metro Loop. Okay, cool. So I think, again, we have some VAD things here, but the thing I want to call out with this app that I think is super interesting is that not only does it have a broad set of tools, the instruction following here means that we can essentially have it operate like a wake word. So when I called out Metric Loop, and if I look at the transcription, I can see like there's a few times I called it out, but it didn't actually understand I was talking to it. But like fundamentally, like when tuned, you can have the model variably reply or not reply. And so you can actually power these kind of dynamic use cases where we have voice to action, but also if I want the model to be able to speak to me, I can prompt it to do so. And I